put their phones on mute or turn them off, we'd appreciate it. So we don't disturb all your comments that I expect to see on the sheet. So we appreciate it. We call to order for the East Mountain Council meeting for June 14, 2022. All is present. We accounted for. Adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda passed. Mr. Cyclone, you're up.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start my invocation today with a little different. About 12 o'clock at my house, I'm on a medical alert for some reason. False alarm went off, I don't know what, and I looked out and half of Beach Mountain was out there. And so I want to thank so much the Bob Moyer group. At first I was embarrassed, still am a little, but they made it clear that, hey, this is what we hope for every time we come. So anyway, thank all you fellows and girls. And that's one of the main reasons that I'm able to continue to live in the place that I love. Living alone, it's great to have these people. Today is the birthday of the United States Army. 247 years old. So salute happy birthday to all the former Army guys. First, I know you are, probably quite a few others. Our scripture today is, let not your heart be troubled. Do not be afraid. This is also, last week was the 78th anniversary of D-Day. And I wanted to do a little devotion on it. Karen and I used to travel in a lot of river boats in Germany. And in 2008, I met this gentleman on one of them. His name was John Brooks, and he was from Massachusetts. He was a World War II vet. In addition, he went ashore D-Day, the second one ashore. He went ashore 6:50. The first group was 6:30. So we had quite a few interesting discussions, and then found out later that about 10 years later, I was in the same outfit he was in. So we struck it up, and I asked him if he could give me a list of some things that might have happened D-Day. And I found this letter, and please bear with me, it's kind of hard to read. John was an old guy then. Handwriting's about like mine now. But it went like this: Dear Cyclone, here's my experience about D-Day. My name is John Brooks. In October 1943, I arrived in England and was assigned to 1st Battalion, 16th Headquarters, 1st Infantry Division as a radio operator. At that time, I was 18 years old. My birthday then was on the November 30th when I turned 19. It was one of the loneliest days of my life. They used me as a charge of quarters for about 5 weeks, and I hadn't had a chance to meet anybody because I worked at night and slept during the daytime. However, by New Year's Eve, I was very happy with the friends that I made and kept all my life. Every day we practiced invasions until June of 1944, invading Wales. That's a country now, not the fish that they're invading. On June the 3rd, we boarded a boat called the Samuel Chase with a lot of other soldiers around in boats, from which on June 6th, we invaded Omaha Beach. Before we landed, we had to transfer to the landing craft of the Higgins boats, as they're called, and I landed on the beach at 6:50 a.m., 20 minutes after the first troops landed. I was the only man that lived to get off of the boat onto the beach. And I did this by disobeying orders. We had orders to, when the front door would go down, everybody had to go through it. I jumped over the side of the ship instead of that, and all the others were killed probably before they even hit the water. After I landed, the first wave of troops were still on the beach. Some of them, very few alive, most of them dead. I was in a boat with A Company because I was a forward observer for the Navy. And about 7:30, a group of just stranglers gathered at the foot of the cliff, and Sergeant Norday of A Company had his men put a Bangalore torpedo into the wire above us on top of the rocks. It blew a big hole in it so we could get through the wire. Sergeant Norday led his men through here, and he was the first one killed. He stepped on a mine, and the soldier behind him, second behind him also. I was probably around the 30th man off the beach. As I started up the hill, I hid in a clump of bushes. I tried to call the Navy to get some artillery support, but I couldn't get them. In the meantime, Lieutenant Modetti came into this same refuge as I was, and he said if we had a switchboard, we would be able to contact the Navy and then organize an attack. I told him I saw one in the surf. He asked me if I would go get it. I did. It was very stupid, one of the stupidest things I ever did, but I got back to that horrible, horrible, horrible beach. But I was young and foolish at that time. It turned out to be our own switchboard for my outfit, which one of our men dropped when he was shot and wounded by a machine gun. This soldier didn't get back to us until November, but he did live and rejoin us. I was one of the 4 men from my battalion who didn't get wounded that day from my entire battalion. The battalion's around 1,000 people, I believe, and he was 4. That's not very good odds. On August 1st at 1 a.m., I got wounded in an air raid. A German bomb landed on a trailer load of ammunition, so I was wounded by an American white phosphorus shell. It penetrated my right leg and burned its way all the way up my upper leg. Fortunately for me, my artery bled and stopped the oxygen from the phosphorus grenade. And also, it was hot enough that the grenade had cauterized the artery, which kept me from bleeding to death. This not only saved my leg, but probably saved my life. September 13th, I got back to my outfit in the Siegfried Line in the way. So that's just kind of an example of what these fellows went through. Follow up on that, I called him on the phone about a month after we got back. He answered the phone. He had no idea who I was, never heard of me. He, about a month before, he woke up one morning with amnesia, didn't remember anything from the time he woke up. So I guess it's possible to have shocks like that and you have something you'd like to get off of your mind. Would you bow your heads, please? Lord, we are grateful that you saw fit to allow us to call USA and Beech Mountain home. We ask your blessings on Joe, our president, Roy, our governor, Barry, our mayor, and our entire town council. Grant them wisdom, Lord, as they lead us, and bless and protect our military, EMTs, law enforcement, and firefighters. We ask you to continue to bless the United States of America and Beech Mountain. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We got some very proud employees. Mr.
Yes,
Indeed.
I'd like to introduce Daniel Davis, our Director of Utilities, and he'd like to tell you about the award the utility won this year. We came in second last year. This year, did a little better. Daniel?
Mayor and council, good to see you this evening. We get this opportunity to talk about a very grand award that our staff has earned. We're very proud of those today. I want to get to tell you about that, but I want to tell you about just a few small things to begin with. You know, I'm sure you would all agree that we're a growing town. This year, we provided to our residents almost 70 million gallons of water to keep this town going. I say that's a large number, that's a large volume. We're Small Beach Mountain, right? We're tucked back into the corner. Beautiful, obviously, but we also have some very interesting things going on in our water departments. If you look at our surrounding area, we're about comparing today. Of course, we won an award. We beat the competition. We're the best. So, you know, that's good stuff. That's for us. But that's a comparison. So if you look around us, we got Banner Elk, Sugar Mountain, you know, nearby neighbors. They have water systems just as we do. They serve residents. They serve both of those roughly around 1,200 homes. And they do that with about 15 to 20 miles worth of piping and distribution system and their treatment that they provide for the customers. Blowing Rock would be probably one of our closest size-wise neighbors. They have about 20 miles of size of water system, water pipe itself, but they serve about 2,300 connections. That's roughly what we serve, that many residents. But on Beach Mountain, we have 66 miles of pipeworks. That's almost 350,000 feet. And that's only the main pipe that's in the roadways. Each one of the residents has a service line that adds roughly another 75,000 feet of pipe to that. I say all that to point out that although we are beautifully tucked away on the mountainside, we are in fact a very large system, and we do a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort to provide for our residents good, clean drinking water. Now, we talk a lot about water infrastructure, but today we get to talk about water treatment. As you all know, Town Council has provided for the town. In 2017, we built the new treatment plant, new ways, innovative ways. We have folks come and visit Beach Mountain to see how we do with the things, the tools that you provided for us to use. And I'm glad to say that the staff, as directed, did the best they could with it. And again, it works out to be the best in North Carolina, so that's always a good thing. I just want to point out that your water as residents, it's constantly tested, it's constantly checked, it's constantly looked after. 7 days a week, 365 days a year, this staff is here. Christmas Day, Thanksgiving Day, we celebrate, they're here. Whatever happens after hours, they respond and take care of it to make sure that everyone here has not only safe drinking water, but also remember that our drinking water is also our fire protection. So there's a little over 360 fire hydrants on Beach Mountain that are serviced or maintained and are there for protection of our homes. We're a large system, we're a growing system. As a piece of that, we partner, and we have for years, with the North Carolina Rural Water Association. They help us in many different ways. With their infrastructure side, they help us to locate leak problems. They help us administratively, and they generally give us good advice within the industry. And with the North Carolina Rural Water Association, there is one name above them all, and his name is Keith Budd. Keith, come on in. Keith is a longtime friend of mine personally, a longtime friend of Beach Mountain. One of the most reputable rascals that you've ever met in your life. And we're happy to
I
have
gotta
you
follow
here.
this now.
That's good stuff.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
There's your order, council. As he said, I'm Keith Buff with North Carolina Rural Water Association. I am the technical assistant circuit rider for Western North Carolina. And circuit rider is a fact. I do a lot of riding. Thankfully, it's not a mule. As you know, why I'm here is the town of Beech Mountain has been awarded, has won, not awarded, the best tasting drinking water in the state of North Carolina. How did this happen? It happened because you people, your management, your council, your manager, had the foresight to build the most advanced water treatment plant in North Carolina. There's only 2 of them. You know, people think, okay, it's mountain water, it's gotta be good. That's not how it works. If you've ever gone to Buckeye Lake after a rain and saw chocolate, these guys have got to treat that and still make good water. It's very hard to do. These guys are certified by the state of North Carolina. They have to continue to educate every year. You just can't put somebody down there. If you turn on your water, one of these guys is working. 2 o'clock in the morning, 30 below 0, I don't care. One of these guys is there. And they are dedicated professionals. I've known them all basically their whole life. I've been treating drinking water 53 years. So I do know. With that, I honor y'all for supporting them. And at this time, Mayor, on behalf of North Carolina Rural Water, I present you with the award, the best taste drinking water in the state of North Carolina for 2022.
Thank you.
Let me introduce you, Mayor, if I could, please.
You want to introduce your
Bruce
group?
Daniel.
We have Ronnie McKinney,
Daniel and Chief.
Plant ORC, Superintendent, 27 years experience, highest level certification you can achieve in North Carolina. We have Josh Cordell, the new baby. Hopefully he's your future. We have Roger Hicks, who not only has the highest level in water, he also has it in wastewater. Plus he is a second generation water treatment professional. His mother retired as superintendent of the town of Boone drinking water plant. So he's known it his whole life. We have Gary White, who does the flushing program. I know when you see him out here, you see water running out of fire hydrants. Why is he wasting water? Good God, what's the matter with that man? He is the one that maintains the quality of your drinking water in the system. You have an old system. I know you're working on replacing it, but it's old. I mean, it's older than I am. Ooh. So, don't get excited if you see him flushing water, okay? Guys, I commend you. Daniel.
Thank you. Ronnie, thank you.
All right, we're going to have a public hearing on the budget. There's a couple rules we need to follow. If you're going to make any comments, come up to the podium, name, address, social security number, so we can get a credit card on your behalf.
Thank you.
You have 5 minutes. And if you're from the, I'm looking at the sheet, there's a lot of people from the same family. We don't need husband and wife and child and grandchild. Just one person to be a spokesman for the family would be good.
One question, Mr. Mayor. That sheet is for regular public comment.
Correct.
Nothing to do with the,
Yes, sir, it's for both.
But
that was
there's,
not clearly stated.
but there's people out there that did both, so we'll go through it as we go through it.
All right, well, I would like to sign it up.
Well, be my guest.
You can have
I know you are right up front. I need a motion to accept the public hearing, open the public hearing on the budget.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, anybody who wants to start with the comments on the budget? You got 5 minutes.
Again, I object to the 5-minute limitation. That's not what the statute says, I believe.
We
That's
can,
for an ordinary, that's for a normal public comment in a normal,
we can debate it at
Town
another
council.
time, but
Ersteiger, 124 Raven Road. Let me start off by saying it is unfortunate that this council has chosen to make public comment on the day that it's planning to vote on the budget. That clearly shows it has no intention of listening to citizens or making any changes, since it's basically impossible to make any changes to the budget when you're going to vote on it in half an hour. It's easy for you to change that. It's not the first time I've raised this issue, but if you're really serious about public comment, you need to have it sometime before you make the final decision on the budget. So let's talk a little bit about the budget. I send out emails to about 55 residents. There's about 2,000 to 3,000 taxpayers on Beech Mountain. Most of them are in for a shock come October of this year, when they get their new tax bill and it's 50 to 100% higher than it was last year. All I can do is try to make people aware of it. And all I can do is try to make people aware of your failure to make hard choices in this budget. You have failed in your responsibilities to this town's citizens. Unlike most communities, what you did last year is the cause of where we are today. You went from an approximately $7.8 million general revenue budget to a little over $10 million. You did that without raising taxes by borrowing, in essence, moving money from your reserves. So you took money that you had in reserve and you balanced your general operating budget. I warned you last year that that was going to come back to haunt you. And it is coming back to haunt you now, because what you did this year is you decided you wanted to spend, again, 10-point-some million dollars. But you didn't have that $2.5 million that you could use in reserves. So what you had to do is raise property taxes. Fortunately for you, it was the same year that a reappraisal occurred. And the town's overall value went from about $500 million to about $1 billion. So that means that, in theory, our tax rate should have gone down from 73 cents to about 40.5 cents. That's what the County of Watauga told you is the revenue neutral rate. So instead of using that as your baseline, you chose to establish 67 cents as your baseline. In essence, that's about a 60% tax increase. I've heard several of you say, oh, citizens are getting a tax decrease. The millage rate is decreasing, yes. People's taxes are going to go up 75 to 100%. You can't always get what you want. There are hard choices that have to be made. We may disagree or agree on certain of those choices. The problem is you made no choices. You simply said, we're going to fund everything. And let me give you some examples. There's an 18% increase in the police budget. The rec department in the last 3 years has increased 100% in personnel costs. You want a 13% increase across the board for all employees. As you know, I did some research, looked at surrounding communities. The average increase in the surrounding communities in North Carolina and Tennessee is about 5%. There's one exception, and that is the town of Boone. But unlike you, the town of Boone is funding it in a couple of different ways. The first way is they're using some leftover federal funds. They're using a budget surplus from last year. And they did it by only increasing their millage rate about 4.5 cents above the revenue neutral rate. You're talking about increasing our taxes 27 cents above the revenue neutral rate. You simply haven't made any hard choices. And I understand it's too late. Y'all are not going to do anything this year. But what I appeal to the people in the audience here, there is an election next year. There will be a majority of this council up for re-election. That's the time the citizens are going to have to take action. Because it is incumbent upon the 5 members of this town council to make hard choices. You simply can't say, we want to fund everything. It'd be nice if we could do that, but it's simply not realistic. And again, we can debate the merits of, do we want to fund $500,000 for an EMS station? Do we want to fund another $2 million paving roads? Previous councils said, we're not going to pave a road unless the citizens pay for half that road. This council has abandoned that. They're saying the town now pays all of the cost of paving roads. So there's a couple of questions with that. The first is, why are we paving roads that are gravel? Everybody who bought on a gravel road on Beach Mountain knew it was a gravel road when they bought it. The fact that some citizens now say, I wish I had bought on a paved road, is not something that the town really needs to consider. And I don't believe we should be spending $1 million or $2 million paving roads that have been gravel ever since this town was founded. So again, we can debate the various issues. We can look at, does the rec department need the money that it needs, it wants? Does the administrative department need the money that it says it needs? This council has not made any of those choices. It has simply said, we're going to fund everything, and we're going to let the citizens of the town pay for it. And that's an application of their responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Come up.
I also signed in,
What's your name, sir?
Mike Murgia, 101 Pinnacle Ridge Road.
Yeah.
As the gentleman before me said, the rollback rate would be 40.5 cents. You're raising it 27.5 cents above the rollback rate. That's a 68% increase. So what do those budget numbers mean? Well, FY22, the tax base was a little over 500 million. That generated 3.9 million in revenue, tax revenue, property tax. The new tax base is 995 million. That's going to generate $6,702,000. That's a pretty big increase, especially for a small budget like we have. Just to give the people here an example of property taxes, as you mentioned, they're going to go high. Last year, my assessment was $269,500. My beach tax rate of 0.732 cents created a tax of $1,969. This year, my new evaluation is $527,000. The rate that I'm going to pay this year with the 0.68 cents is $3,583. That's an increase of $1,600, 82%. That's unconscionable. I have to agree. Look, I was an elected official and had to deal with budgets as you do, and it's not a fun time. I know that. But that kind of increase, there is no way anybody can tell me that's justifiable. I'm sorry. You know, when I looked over the documents, I noticed that the big tax increase, the majority of it is to fund $2.3 million of capital projects. So I'm going to offer what I think might be a solution that you all can consider. Looking at the 5 years, the projected capital projects, that adds up to $5.9 million. Now, you front-end loaded it. This year is 2.3, next year is 2.8, then it's 400,000, 300,000, 200,000. So most of those capital improvements have a life expectancy, life cycle cost expectancy of probably 10 to 25 years. Now, some people may not like this, but I would say the way to do that, as opposed to funding it all at once, is either you spread out the projects more evenly, or you do a bond referendum and spread those payments out over 15 years. What that would do is that instead of it costing $2.8 million and $2.3 million, that would spread it out over the 15 years, $605,000 a year. The town could reduce this current budget by $1.7 million. The tax rate would only have to go up to 50.1 cents per $100. And that savings would probably save the average homeowner about $1,200 a year. So I'm not saying that the things that you're trying to do are good or bad. I'm not a full-time resident. I'm only here 5.5 months a year, depending on how much we travel, whatever. I don't even get to vote here. But I do think it's incumbent on this body. You have a fiduciary responsibility to the people sitting in this room, the people that own property here. And I have to say, and I don't like to be negative because I've sat in that seat, but I really think you need to look at what you're doing and figure out a way to do it perhaps a little bit more reality-driven. And yes, there's a, you know, one of the sad things, I guess, with Beech Mountain is there's a lot of infrastructure here and not a lot of buildings. So you have a lot of costs, just like they were saying about the water. Well, we have 66 miles. So yeah, that's a lot more to take care of 66 miles than 20 that the other town that. So you have a problem there. You may want to look at how do you incentivize infilling? So when people are building, it's happening in areas where there's already things going on. You know, I just think you need to look at more ways to deal with the needs of the community and do it in a responsible way, because I have to say, I don't think you're being as responsible as you should be. And when you look at your fiduciary responsibility, I don't know that it's being fulfilled when you have a 68% increase. I don't know of any other town in the United States that has ever had that kind of increase. It's like being a drunken sailor. Oh, look at this. We doubled our income. We could do whatever we want. I'm sorry. Most towns, most cities, most municipalities, most counties, when there's a reevaluation, they roll back. You're not doing that. And I think it's unfair to the people that live in this community. And I really think you need to put off voting on this and looking at how you can better manage the budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, sir, come on up.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I was under the impression I didn't have to fill out the public comment. I mean, I could give you my name.
Just say it out loud.
Craig Hutter.
Come up here, sir.
331 Pinnacle Ridge Road, Beech Mountain. Thank you. So I'm going to try not to be repetitive, Mayor, but let me just say this so that I don't have to be repetitive. Everything those two gentlemen said that just came up here, I totally agree with, and to my knowledge, it's as accurate as it could be. So the last time I spoke before this council was 10 years ago, roughly. And I was on the Water Sewer Committee along with Urs and several other citizens to try to solve a problem that was presented to the town at that time. And it appears to me, happily, today that we solved that problem. So that's probably the kindest thing I'm going to say while I'm here, but I just want to tell you that I'm proud that we've been able to do that. And the next part is going to sound like I'm bragging, Mayor, but I just want you to know that I'm not just the expert with a briefcase from out of town. My wife and I have owned a property here for 20 years, house on it, come up every summer. We're carpetbaggers. We don't vote here. Wish I could. But I spent 14 years in city and county government when I was a younger man, and all in cities in Florida. But cities everywhere aren't much different in one state from another. The laws are a little different, but the people and what they're trying to do are not a lot different. So I was in cities ranging from, and counties ranging from 10,000 people to 120,000 people over that period of time. And then I went into the municipal bond business in the private sector and spent 20 years working with cities and counties to finance their infrastructure and help them with advice about their financing. And I say that because it concerned me when I heard this, evidenced by the fact that you hadn't seen me in 10 years. And I was sort of aghast, to be honest with you. So what we did was we took roughly $2 million last year out of reserves to balance the budget. You can call it something else, but that's really what it was. And cities and counties do that, but they don't take $2 million to do it. You know, they may balance the budget. Maybe they got a shortfall. They need a project. They take out 200,000 or 300,000. But you took $2 million. The key here is non-recurring revenue. But the next year, you don't have that money anymore. So the next year, when you've got the needs, you have to fund the $2 million non-recurring, and then you have to fund your additional needs. So it's sort of like digging a hole and not filling it. So that started the problem. And then we're now taking, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're now taking roughly $3 million out of really a tax appraisal windfall is what it is. And I know it happens every so often, but you happen to take the year when we've had the highest number of property sales, therefore appraisals increased, that we've had in probably 20 years, maybe our lifetimes. And you're taking the whole windfall from that and you're spending it in 1 year. 1 year. And again, I say, non-recurring revenue. It's a key to people getting in trouble with their budgets. Because when you're spending non-recurring revenue, next year it comes around, you're either cutting something, you're not going to cut your employees' salaries, they probably don't deserve to have them cut. So what are you going to do? When that money's not there next year, you're going to build on the previous year's assessments, and by gosh, shock of all shocks, you're going to have to increase taxes again. And we're going to be back here yelling at you again. So I'm with the guy that said, you know, when you got a whole bunch of stuff, and I mean, I've been there, local governments can spend millions of dollars on things, but every year we had to pare down what the council saw as the needs of the community because they literally couldn't spend as much as they wanted to spend. But that's not what's happening here. Now, don't take my advice if you don't want to, but this can't go on like this. And so next year, you're going to be up against it unless you increase taxes again because non-recurring revenue. And you built yourself a little bit of a hole. So I guess what I would say is the reason I'm here after 10 years, having been in local government, understanding what you go through, is that probably never, but let me just qualify that and say almost never in 34 years of working for local governments and with local governments have I ever seen as lackadaisical and careless approach to a budget. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to make any comments?
I'm not registered, is it all?
That's all right.
I've got an opposing view, and I'm sorry to be the only one.
Just give your name.
My name is Leonard Hayeth. I'm at 498 St. Andrews Road on Beach Mountain. The reflection of our increased taxes is the obvious citing that we have a more affluent community. The community here, I want to see it developing properly. I want to see it grow. I want to see it grow well. I don't want to see tragedies in the streets that I've seen some awful villages are. They don't pick up the garbage, they don't watch the water, they don't watch most things that the civic community requires. What has happened here is over 8 years, the value of our property has increased. And almost everybody here who got an increased assessment can probably sell their house at the increased assessment. I don't think it's a fake. I know I was startled when I saw mine, and it was ridiculous. But I checked with the sales in my area. It's absolutely correct. I don't want to pay the higher number. Well, we're living in a much more affluent community. Now, the problem with that is the older residents are being cost out of their homes. They're selling their homes because they can't afford to stay at the higher values. And this happens all over the country, where the retirees get bypassed. And in order to get value, you really have to pay for it. There's no way out. Now, I know there's these situations where they borrowed money ahead of time because they didn't have the ability to borrow until they got a reassessment. All of a sudden, there were demands on this council to spend money for improvements in order to make sure that we have a proper lifestyle. I know that increases in dollars and cents are terrible, and they're really bad for people who have fixed incomes, who can't afford it. But if you're going to live in your more valuable property, and you want to live in a community that's developing properly, and this is a much more in-demand community than it was 8 years ago. This community right now is the place to go to, and that's why all the houses are being bought at these higher numbers. I'm sorry that I have to pay that number myself, but I also get the advantage of living here, and I like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
No applause.
Anybody else want to make any more comments? Okay, Anita.
I didn't sign in.
It's okay. Just come up and give your name and address.
Vincent Murator, 105 Bear Paw Path, Beach Mountain. Vincent Murator, M-U-R-A-T-O-R-E, 105 Bear Paw Path. And I do live on a gravel road, and I don't foresee it being ever paved. Contrary to the gentleman that just spoke, I purchased a home here 5 years ago, and I'll be happy to tell you the price. It was $222,000, and my assessment came in at $647,000. My wife and I are certainly flabbergasted. Yes, our community is improving. Like the other gentleman, I've sat on boards, been on planning commissions, been on zoning commissions, and what was done is not right for the citizens in this community. And I apologize. I think the other two gentlemen that spoke first, or the three, they're right on line. And it's very difficult for people who are retired on a fixed income to stay in this wonderful community. And if there's anything that could be done, great. I appealed my taxes. It was very interesting. And she said, well, and the person who I talked to on the appeal said, well, I used to live in Florida. I said, well, I used to live in Florida also. My house doubled in 5 years. Well, my house almost quadrupled in 5 years, which is insane. And I said, if you want to pay me what you think this prays for, please write me a check. They didn't like that too much. But I am going from a formal appeal. I've ordered my own several appraisals to try to see if we can get better terms, better taxes, whatever. But it's a wonderful community, but it's a shame what's happening. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure. We don't respond to it, but you can ask.
Okay. About the,
Ma'am, can you say your name and address?
Julie Grindstone,
Thank you.
101 Portside Lane. Years and years ago, when we bought, my husband bought, and we lived on Gravel Road, and we all got together, and I think someone is from Raven Road here. Am I right? Okay. We knew the Yarrows. Okay, so we all got together and paid for our road. We paid for Courtside, we paid for Windy Way. The reason Raven Road today is not paved is because somebody didn't like somebody on the street. And they weren't gonna, give the money. That's the reason Raven Road is not done to this day. Why can't, I owned a business for 30 years. You have to cut. You have to cut the beef where the beef is cut. Paving costs one hell of a lot of money. Say to people on gravel roads, you want gravel roads? Y'all get together, find out how much it is, and pay for it. Because we're not gonna pay for it. That's a big piece of beef. But and I agree with him. The people that have lived up here, I haven't lived up here that long, but we have owned for 22 years. You must take care of your residents. You must take care of the people that built this mountain. And they're sitting right behind me. I know who they are. Okay? You can't say, it's too damn bad, get off the mountain if you can't afford it. That's not the attitude of Beach Mountain. We'll lose it. We don't want these whippersnappers in here telling us what to do. That's not Beach Mountain. I grew up in Beach Mountain in my adult life, coming up here certain times. But take the beef, cut it. Cut it. Say, if you want roads, then build them. How much Barry, would that take out of the budget? A lot. There's things that the residents have to do to take care of their own property and their own surroundings. It's not up to the town, it's not up to me to have to pay for Raven Road. That's what I feel about it. Because the town didn't take care of Courtside, they didn't take care of me. And that's what you need to do. But there's certain things buried in there that you can cut out. But you have to take care of the people that built this mountain.
Thank you. Anybody else, any more comments?
I'm a full-time resident.
Give your name and address, please.
I will. Pat Anderson, 100 Skiway Circle. That's the only house we own. We don't own a house at the beach or in Florida or anyplace else. And we have a budget that we are confined to live in. And so when our appraisal went from 260,000 to 648,000, that comes as quite a shock. And it makes it so now that you're going to raise our taxes, unconscionably high rate, it makes it more difficult for us to live. We saw this happen in a place we used to live in, where the senior citizens in our neighborhood literally had to move because they could not afford to pay the taxes and the insurance on the houses that they had lived in for more than half a century. I agree with the other speakers who have said you need to reassess. And do I understand that you're not going to say anything to the group today?
We don't comment on
You don't comment?
No, sir.
So, in the quietness of your thoughts then, about which we are not to be informed, I would think that it would be prudent for you each to decide that you're going to postpone this vote and reassess the budget.
Anybody else has any more comments?
My name's Gabe Joseph, 239 Sawmill Branch Road. I hadn't really planned on commenting either. I think Urs said it all, and the gentleman who followed the bathroom, it makes me really proud to be part of this community that, you know, these guys who sound very financially savvy and understand this stuff are willing to come and speak up. My taxes are jumping by 55%. And, you know, all these people are right. It doesn't make any sense. It's unconscionable to have public comment on the same day that you're going to vote on this. I don't really understand why y'all are doing it this way. I think it's unfortunate because, I mean, I know some of y'all better than others, and I know all y'all care about the community. And you all live here with us, and it's a small town. And, you know, I'm on the planning board with Urs. And, you know, we all know each other. We all see each other around town. You know, so just to echo what Mr. Anderson said, I think y'all need to postpone this thing. It doesn't make any sense to vote on it today. You're just now hearing from us. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Can I say another comment? Just real quick. I'm not in California, but I was there in my military time for a while. They have a system whereby older homes cannot raise taxes more than, I think, 3 or 5%. So people who have lived in their houses for 20 years don't get hurt by these automatic shot-ups where the outsiders come in and increase the value of homes. Does everybody understand that system? Yes. Where the older people who own their homes for years don't get big increases. But the new people that come in they pay their taxes at the rate of the present time. Is there a way of trying to get that kind of a situation? Because there is a problem here. We have a lot of the older residents that we cherish. We like, you know, we all mix in. The newer people from Charlotte, from Raleigh, that are coming up and boosting the prices of these houses are causing damage to the residents who have made this place. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you for listening, by the way.
No problem.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Favor? All in favor? All right, we have, I need a motion for, we have public comments. I have people on this sheet. You also got a letter from Deborah Miller on your packet. So that's part of the agenda. On the people on the sheet, do you want to be, Israel, do you want to come up and,
No, that was just a sign-in sheet.
okay, Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Susan,
Half.
Carol, and Patrick, you both talk. You want to re-talk? First? Okay.
I was on that. The only thing I want to say, I can afford to pay my taxes, That's not what this is about. I can afford it. And yeah, these taxes are lower than my other house. That's not the issue. And I really hope that some of you think about this and at least postpone it to go over it and maybe get some people that are here that are interested to sit down in a two-way conversation. Because I know on the board that I sat, we didn't respond either, so I don't expect you to respond to this tonight either. But it's not that I can't afford to pay it. That has nothing to do with any of my comments.
I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I need a motion to accept the ordinance on the budget.
So moved.
All in favor? I need 9-1, the new business, 2023 annual budget ordinance. I need to approve. All in favor? I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Wait, what are we doing now? Explain again.
Go to 9,
I'm on 9-1,
You
so
got
explain
8
to me what we're doing.
we're approving.
We're
approving the
voting on the
budget.
new budget, then I'm a no. I'm a no.
Okay.
Wait a second.
Huh?
Yeah, it's going way too fast.
This is at the 68 cents?
Yeah.
I'm opposed.
I'm opposed.
All in favor? Okay, we
Do we
have,
have discussion with this or no? Okay.
Discussion the last 6 months, Ken.
Okay.
okay, the
Then,
motion.
yeah,
died.
I'm a
Motion-
no.
You got,
I think Jimmy made the motion and Aaron seconded.
it's- it's a three approved to a nay.
What? We can't hear you.
3 people have approved it and 2 have said no. So it passes. The budget passes. Bob, you want to do your,
Sure, Mayor. Some items for you today. As you recall, about 8 months ago, Representative Green was interested in having a de-annexation of some properties in East Nest that were also in the town of Beach Mountain. That bill was filed 1044 under the short session. There was a discrepancy between the time you addressed that matter and the bill was formatted. They added 6 parcels. So the town planner and I have communicated to Representative Green that the town could not support that de-annexation with those added parcels because you haven't had a chance to review that. Representative Green's office agreed to pull those additional parcels out of the local bill. So the local bill in 1044 that is now going to committee is the original parcels that you addressed some months ago. The additional parcels would have to come back to you at some time in the future. Everybody got that? So that's happening in Raleigh as we speak, and that is, we're following that closely. On Water Lake Coffee update, we're making good progress with the state. We've actually met with some of their higher level decision makers. The issue is the required release from the new reservoir. As I'm sure you know, Buckeye is a problem because of the state required release. We have to release effectively the same amount of water that comes in. Doesn't make sense. So we couldn't do that with Lake Coffee and justify building the reservoir. So what we've asked is that the release rate that exists currently under the current situation with Snow Lake making snow and what's being released on Lower Palm Creek would be the maximum that the town would agree to in a new permit situation. And we've gotten good response back on that, and our engineer is working to model that. It's difficult to measure. It hasn't been measured over the last 50 years, but we're trying to model that so that we can put a quantitative number to that release to the state. Then it'll go through the process and hopefully they'll give us a permit to build that reservoir. The agreement, Mayor, between the resort and the town, I spoke with Mr. Thompson today. He has agreed that the issues are handled. It's between the attorneys, it's between his attorney and our attorney, and it hasn't been worked out yet, so we'll be moving forward.
So the release of the water, is that for environmental issues?
Yes, it's to maintain the aquatic wildlife downstream from the reservoir. Obviously, if we build the reservoir and don't release any water, then all the fish and salamanders and things that go on that would be in peril. What we're trying to do is make certain that we're not forced to any agreement like we have in Doghouse. So obviously, the release that's there now has been sufficient over 50 years at least, and we don't want to have to agree to release any more than that. And when we model that through the 3 streams that would go to the new reservoir, the engineer feels very confident that that will work. It allows the resort to make their snow in the winter, and they're interested in an increase in snow-making capacity over the 99-year lease if that's being built in. So what we want to do is agree to a maximum release of what has historically been in the creek in its natural state.
So how would that affect the potential drought? If we had to release water, you think with Buckeye and as a backup reservoir at Lake Coffee, that would be sufficient?
Well, Lake Coffee is going to be designed to be about 30 million gallons.
Mm-hmm.
And the design is to allow bypass of the major Upper Pond Creek, so that we'll have a 30 million gallon bucket of water that we can drain literally to the bottom, as far as the infrastructure will let us drain. And that is designed to give us 60 to 90 days of drought potential, like we had in 2010. Well site number 1, that's the one on Pinnacle Ridge. That well site is being redesigned for substantial savings in the infrastructure. We no longer will have to build a 5,000 gallon tank, nor a building to house it. We're going to direct inject the treated water into the utility system. Because of that redesign, which should dramatically reduce its cost, we're going to go to bid the first part of August on that. Construction is about a year, and then we'll be able to put that 150,000 gallons per day directly into the system. But the redesign is going to save at least 50% of the construction cost. Sean wanted me to let you know our summer camp is underway at Buckeye, and he's predicting one of the largest groups ever. Take a look at your budget, or your council report. You'll see that in the recreation, the revenues are up over $16,000 for last month. A lot of that is part of the kids' camp. And his report tells you where that breakdown comes from on those revenues. Chain Park, our camping has been a success. We were full this weekend. We had some repairs we had to make to the sewer system after some vandalization of property. The police have gotten involved and an individual's been identified. We're moving forward. But the good news is that if you go past Shane Park now on the weekends, it's packed. Not only with campers, but with hikers, fishermen, and things of that nature. So that park is doing really well. Last month, we had a discussion on the Bark Park and parking. And if you recall, you tasked me to come up with a solution for free parking for use of the Bark Park. I reported it to you in via email, but I wanted to bring it to the public. We've been able to more than double the number of free parking spaces in that parking lot at the Bark Park. The paving has been put in place, the striping will go in, and so we think that's a viable solution to more than doubling those available parking spaces. Currently, we're in the Bark Park this week, replacing a lot of fencing that was rotten and making some improvements there. So if you go by there and you see a lot of construction, that was part of that project. Some report on the EMS station. It's been about a month that the EMS unit has been 24/7 on the mountain. I'm intimately familiar with that because I run every call with them. I would tell you that, and I'll have a more detailed report for you next month and then every month thereafter. The response times are really reduced. More importantly, the on-scene times are fantastic. We've had a number of critical cases where the patient has not only been responded to, treated on the scene, and either flown off the mountain in a helicopter or transported to the hospital, and on-scene times were 8 minutes. And that's in comparison to 45 minutes to an hour previously to May 14th. So in our first 30 days, the numbers are really well. The patients that they have serviced are very appreciative of the life-saving service that's been put in place. And as we go forward, you'll see in my fire department report, I will add a section there on our EMS response times because that's how we're going to measure the success of the program. Last thing I've got, Mayor and Council, is the fire department is holding an open house and a ribbon cutting for the new EMS unit at Fire Station number 2 on June 25th. It's 2 to 4. Free hot dogs, cotton candy. Everyone's invited to stop by the fire station. There's no pizza, so we're good to go there. And we'll cut the ribbon there and formally adopt the new station and have an open house for the fire department. That's my report.
Thank you. Right now is council comments. Normally I go last, but since we've been throwing a lot of tomatoes at us, I want to go first. First of all, we're not questioning if anybody can afford to pay their taxes or not. That's not the issue. We have 3 workshops on our budgets. It's open to the public. That's when the time you can come and dispute whatever we're putting up as far as the budget is concerned. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. You're done, you're done, excuse me. You're done. You do plenty of your own, so let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. So you can make comments. If you can't make comments at that time, you can reach your council members and let them know what you think. We have a town manager that his door is open every day, unless he's on a medical call. And he'll be glad to listen to any issues that you have. So those workshops are for that reason. They're also put online that you guys can look at. So that's when the time we expect you to come to us or to the town manager and say, I don't agree with that. I think that should be changed, or whatever case. You can't necessarily believe everything that you hear in an email, because one thing about it, there's a saying out there, there's half truths. And so a lot of that stuff, you've got to cut through it. Second part, we don't pave gravel, we're not paving gravel roads. It's not in our budget. The only thing we're paving is roads that have been torn up because of the pipes that we were replacing, like Charter Hill and Tamarack, St. Andrew. Those are being paved because we ripped them up last year. And we're having people that live on those streets are not very happy because they want it fixed. That's what we're doing. The other problem that we have, for the last 15 years, none of the infrastructure has been done. And that's why we're in the situation we are now. We had a leak the other day, it was 16 feet deep, and we lost 100,000 gallons of water. That's because the pipe is probably 30 years old. So these are the kinds of things that we have to do. We're not trying to spend money foolishly. We're trying to correct the infrastructure, the problem that we have. Yeah, we're spending money to get water. We're spending money for wells. But we also got to fix the problems of water leaks. And for many, many years, that was put on the back burner. well, we'll fix this leak, we'll fix that one, but we won't fix the problem. And that's what we're trying to do. Yeah, we have a big budget, I agree. But we're not using it, the money foolishly. We had a vote on the ambulance service. Everybody wanted it. That's $450,000. I didn't hear anybody complain about that. Because everybody wanted it. We as the council decided the public wanted, we'll give it. But it's gotta be paid for. Each time we do water leaks or we fix the pipes, it's $3 million. It's gotta get done. So, yeah, we can cut back. But if if there's a water leak in front of your house and we don't get it fixed right away, you'll understand why. So, those are the issues. It's not because we're not listening. We listen to what you're saying. But at the last second, there's nothing we can do with the budget at this point. But next year, we have 3 budget meetings. If you want to participate, you can do it. If you have comments after we're done, town manager, there's 3 of us, the 4 or 5 of us, we'll be glad to listen. We can make the adjustments if they can be made. All right, you got a comment?
I have no comments.
Jimmy?
Just the misinformation sometimes. You know, you're gonna bring up some budget comments, and then you don't bring up what the revenue is of the Buckeye Rec Center. Or we're gonna talk about hard decisions, but yeah, this is a hard decision. But you know, we live here too. It's not like I'm living outside the town limits, not paying, you know, my property taxes. So, and you also, you know, somebody made the comment that we didn't cut anything up. If I'm not mistaken, last month I cut something from the sanitation department, fences and a building, and but yeah, we won't mention that because it doesn't fit the need in this setting. So it's just, you know, if you want to be more involved, please come to more of the town meetings. I try to be, I think this entire board tries to be extremely transparent. I can learn a lot from y'all, and you know, if, as the mayor said, if we have 3 or 4 budget workshops, please come to them. In fact, I think the last one, I think we canceled. That was a 5-0 vote. So that I don't think this board was extremely concerned about the budget as it is now today. So
Well,
it's
it was
just funny how it
rescheduled.
works.
It's rescheduled.
No, because we're voting on it today. We don't have one after today. So it wasn't rescheduled. And those are my comments.
Kelly?
My comments are, I was not voting no on the budget. I was voting no on the way we were paying for the budget.
And
Because
please
I feel
bring up
that
some
we're-
things to cut. 'Cause
I
open
feel that
to
we're
suggestions.
putting, well, 65 cents would have balanced the budget, 68 cents is padding the budget.
No, it's adding to the revenue, to the.
Adding to the
No, 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 no,
revenue,
no.
correct?
No, not to the revenue, to the reserves.
Right,
So we have it
right.
for the future years,
So
not just this
what
council.
we're asking our
but the-
taxpayers
the-
to do is we're saying, we're gonna go ahead and bring up what you're paying to add to the reserves, which, I mean, that's the way the vote went,
why
which
we
is
have
fine.
reserves.
And and I'm saying once again, I'm not voting no on the budget because I believe that we have a really good workforce. I believe we have a lot of very responsible people that are coming across with what they need. And I trust them, you know, because I don't have a $10 million budget. But I'm like everybody else here that is now waiting on the mortgage statement to figure out how I'm gonna pay the extra taxes, and I totally get that part too. So, like I've said before, I believe Beech Mountain is going in the right direction. I'm proud of where we are, I'm proud of where we're going, And, you know, this is how council works, you know, you have these discussions, you agree to disagree, and that's how it works. That's all I got. Oh, happy 4th of July.
Thank you.
I will not be here for the ribbon cutting, I'm at the beach.
Mr. Wagner?
So, and that's it.
Mr. Abernathy?
I appreciate everyone's comments today. I take it as constructive criticism, and I take the comments to heart. I have a small business, and it's today's times are very challenging. But it is what it is, and you just got to put your best foot forward every day and make the best out of it. And, make cuts when you can, and there is a difference between needs and wants. I personally think that with this budget that I was a proponent of the EMS. I've seen firsthand being on the fire department and on ski patrol where we've had to wait anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes for an ambulance to come to Beach Mountain or hire health care. So this EMS is a big deal. I hope it doesn't happen to you or any of your friends, but at some point, I think that everyone here, directly or indirectly, will be involved with this life-saving measure that we have invested in. The COLA, our pay a year ago was $12 an hour, and we've had to increase our starting pay to $17 an hour. I've seen it firsthand, and I was trying to pinch pennies and not give raises at our business, and we lost some key employees. I was forced to give substantial raises to everyone. Did I want to do it? Absolutely not. That affected the bottom line. However, you know, we had to have a price increase. So, you know, in terms of COLA, I feel confident that it's in the best interest of Beach Mountain. But, you know, that's not always for me or us to decide. I think it's important that everyone speaks up, whether you're a voter or not. I consider everyone here on Beach Mountain as a voter. Your voice is important, and I think as Jimmy said, you know, we have 3 workshops, and do what you can to get involved. We've got a lot of horsepower here on Beach Mountain, and your input is important. You know, the decision was made, council feels confident at 68 cents. I personally think that 68 cents is high. Chief Pudney brought us a balanced budget at 65 cents, and then I challenged him to reduce that a little bit more. We're going to have some revenues come in from the 34 home sites that are being built, and that could be affected a little bit by a potential recession, but I still think that our fund balance is going to be very, very healthy for year 2023. And we need to start looking we need to start discussing, when we see that fund balance growing and we haven't had anything catastrophic, which I think we have plenty of money in that reserve account or the fund balance to take care of any catastrophic event today. But we need to start looking at lowering taxes next year. And I don't want to kick the can down the road and say next year, but at this point, you know, it's too late. But again, thank you for everyone attending our meeting and your input.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening.
Well, we're listening. Now you have the opportunity to make comments on the agenda. And if anybody else wants to make other than, I see you. Anybody else wants to make any comments about the agenda, please come on up. If not, Mr. Hurst, you're available.
Is that 3 responses to the things that the council said? First, the residents of Hawthorne, which is a gravel road, have been told it's going to be paved this year. Second,
They're misinformed.
well, that's interesting. Second, the I'm sorry? Okay. Second, there's some confusion about the general revenue fund and enterprise funds. The mayor talked about if there's a water leak. That's not paid out of general revenue funds. That's paid out of the water and sewer fund. That fund is in good shape because people like me have been on this council for 15 years, and we've been raising your water rates for 15 years to pay for that. And that's been done incrementally, and your rates are going to go up again this year. But that's been done incrementally, and that's the fund that takes care of water leaks. That has nothing to do with what we talked about here today. And the third point is, yes, there are budget workshops. I've attended probably more budget workshops than the 5 of those people combined. The one thing you're not allowed to do at a public workshop as a citizen is talk to them. They don't allow you to make any comments. This is the only time that citizens are allowed to directly address council about the budget. And don't be misinformed about that. Thank you.
I just want to mention, and hopefully the council realizes, I didn't even ask for you to cut anything. Because I agree, you have to raise salaries, you're going to lose good people. I didn't say cut anything. I said, look at how you're paying for it and how you can smooth out that payment. That's all I asked for. So I think that that's something that, you know, the manager should look at. And also the reserves. I don't know the town manager, but I know that like Moody's expects, I think, a 5 to 10% reserve. We have what, an 80% reserve, 70% reserve? 52. So we're way above what you would need to get a AAA rating from Moody's. So, I mean, our reserves are really pretty healthy. So I just
for your information, up to this year, we were running at 68%.
Right, but do you need 68%?
But nobody complained.
Excuse me?
But nobody complained. We were at 68% before.
I'm not, please understand, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, look, you need to perhaps look at some things. How do you smooth that cost and over years as opposed to trying to do it all today? It's like, how many people buy their house cash? Probably not that many, because you smooth it out, because you're not going to pay $500,000 this year. So you smooth it out by paying it over time. You can do the same thing with infrastructure. And as I said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Moody's for AAA, a community, a town only needs to have 5 to 10%. We have 50. So there's probably $4 million you could use for reserves in reality.
I'd like to respond to that. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for offering solutions and possible options of things for us to look at. It's refreshing when taxpayers, which all of us sitting here have other taxpayers offer directions to go, number one. Number two, I'd like to correct the last statement that was made, that citizens are not allowed to speak, because in fact, at our budget workshop, we did in fact have some taxpayers that were there, and they were given the opportunity for input to speak. So I'd like that to go down in writing, that they were given the opportunity, that we do welcome that. And that was back in January. Thank you.
I hate to keep talking. My father was known as Windy. I think I've taken that over.
Are you a junior?
No, not quite. But part of the problem, like for me, I come up June 1st and I'm gone by November 1st. So it's hard for, so maybe the board, I'm sorry, not the board, the council can consider having earlier budget meetings when some of us that, like, I don't rent my home. I don't want anybody else in my home. But I'm only here 6 months at most. So maybe there's a way to start the budget process a little earlier so that people that are here through the summer can have some input into the next season. And I appreciate your remark about my suggestion.
But you can go online.
Yeah, I know, but it's still not, I mean, I happen to be a person, I like to be there.
Sandy?
Just wanted to thank you guys. You are volunteers, and I know it's a hard day, and you feel like you're under attack with tomatoes, but you really work for tomatoes.
Thank you.
And thank you for all that you do. I did want to clarify one stat that just does not seem to be coming out in the meetings. And I was the only person that attended the first budget workshop. I missed the second one. But you guys, instead of waiting until the last minute, it would be nice if I wasn't the only one in the audience for planning. So now I know who you are. And I'm going to try to engage you a little bit more, because I think it is all of our responsibilities, not just these wonderful folks up here. We did have an auditor that let us know that for a town of our size, the general fund balance for the average was in the high 30s. I think you all are being very fiscally responsible, keeping it above that 50%. But at the budget workshop I was at, what you all did by increasing the balance budget from 65 cents to the 68 mileage, added another $300,000 to go into the general fund. And one of the council people said, oh, I feel more comfortable for a rainy day. It is raining on our residents, okay? It is raining. And to put $300,000 in a general fund that has been deemed by our auditors as healthy, that's what I have a problem with. I don't have any problems with the EMS unit. I'm so thankful that that was pushed, and I think our residents and our visitors depend on that and deserve it. I don't have a problem with employee pay increases. I think, as you witnessed by our desk water, I think our staff is excellent. They are the reason why we all live in this town. But I do have a problem committing funds or taxing our residents with no specific project in mind to put it into a very healthy, by all standards, fund balance. And I know it's a done deal, and we're all going to dust ourselves off and just remember that we are all on the same team. But I would really appreciate if you guys could come to my meetings. All right? Thank you very much.
Just one comment that I do have. It's going to remain anonymous, but somebody wrote an email saying that the council is making a ton of money. And we are living high on the hog because we're up here. And unfortunately, we're below Social Security and poverty. So just to clear that fact up, we're not getting rich. We're getting, in fact, all this gray hair only started when I started.
You have here, you have here.
I need a motion to.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.